Hey guys, tonight we begin with a topic a little less philosophical and a lot more greasy. Medieval junk food. Yes, even in a world without fast food chains, vending machines, or hot dog carts, people still found ways to snack. And let me tell you, some of it was delicious, some of it was disturbing, all of it was deeply medieval. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what. In the hush of a medieval dawn, when the mists still clung to the damp earth, the world began with the sound of bells. Soft and heavy, they rolled across the rooftops of wooden homes and crooked stone streets, reminding each soul that the day had come again, with its burdens, its duties, and its ceaseless hunger. Life in those centuries was not generous. A peasant's bowl was often filled with broth thin as water, with bread so dark and coarse it scraped against the teeth. Cabbage boiled until it lost all its color. On rare days, a turnip. On rarer days still, a sliver of meat. Yet, through all the monotony, through all the thinness of meals and the quiet ache of empty stomachs, human beings, ever inventive, found ways to make joy, to coax sweetness from scarcity, to create what we might, in modern words, call junk food. Theirs was not junk though. Theirs was salvation in small bites. Close your eyes and imagine the first of these delights. Imagine a small fire crackling low in a stone hearth. A battered iron pan, blackened by years of smoke, is set upon the flame. A woman with calloused hands slices tart apples, their white flesh bright against the dim light of the room. She dips them in a thin batter, no richer than flour and water, perhaps blessed with a pinch of spice if fortune has been kind. Into the pan they fall, hissing as they meet the lard that bubbles and sings. The smell rises, a smell of sweetness and warmth, of comfort unlooked for. And when she lifts them out, dripping and golden, when she dusts them, if she is lucky, with a touch of honey or the rare gift of sugar, she holds in her hands a fritter, a miracle made from scraps. To bite into it was to bite into joy itself. Crisp at the edge, soft at the heart, sharp with the tang of apple, mellowed with sweetness. In that single mouthful, the bleakness of a medieval diet was forgotten. In that single bite, the spirit was reminded that life was not only about toil. For those who could afford it, there was more: honey cakes, rich and dense, passed from hand to hand at fairs and holy days. Imagine them, thick with spice, their sweetness heavy on the tongue, their fragrance filling the square where jugglers toss their torches, where children laugh, where the air is alive with music. For the monks who traveled the long roads, there were cheese curds, soft, squeaking as they pressed against the teeth, carried in small bundles, eaten on the move. They were not luxuries, but they were comforts. In the endless tread of sandals upon dust, they were a reminder that food could be more than fuel. And then there were the hidden delights, the candied fennel seeds that freshened the breath, glittering like jewels upon a noble's table. The wafers, thin as whispers, stamped with holy symbols, bought from sellers waiting just outside church doors. Fried fish skins, taken from scraps that would otherwise be thrown away, crisp and salted, munched with laughter in dimly lit taverns. Blood pudding balls, rich and heavy, rolled by hands that wasted nothing, not even the lifeblood of animals slaughtered for winter stores. Each of these foods carried not just flavor, but memory, community, and meaning. They were tokens of celebration, whispers of hope, small feasts in a life of endless fasts. The peasant child who licked honey from her fingers at a festival might remember that taste all her life, holding it like a secret jewel against the hunger of years. The weary pilgrim who bit into a lump of curd by the roadside might remember its comfort long after his feet were blistered. The monk who placed a wafer on his tongue after Mass might feel, for a moment, that he had tasted heaven itself. And so, medieval junk food, though simple, though born of poverty and scarcity, became something greater. It became joy in a world that had so little joy to spare. It became sweetness in a world that knew mostly bitterness. It became a reminder, small but powerful, that life could be more than labor, more than survival. It could be savored. And as the day faded, as shadows stretched across cobbled streets and the bells tolled once again, marking evening prayer, a peasant might sit by the low fire, stomach filled with little more than bread and broth, and yet remember, still upon the tongue, the golden crunch of a fritter, the soft crumb of a honey cake, and the whisper of sweetness that made all the difference. The day in a medieval town was not measured only by the toll of bells, nor by the rise and fall of the sun. It was measured too by the hum of the market, by the rhythm of footsteps on cobblestones, by the murmur of bargaining voices rising and falling like the tide. In the heart of this world, in the smoke and the chatter, in the jangle of coins and the bleating of animals, the people found not only what they needed to live, but what they longed for to feel alive. Among the stalls of fishmongers, the benches of vegetable sellers, the tables piled high with bread loaves and rough-hewn cheeses, there was always a scent drifting through the air, warm, savory, irresistible. The scent of pasties, those humble cousins of the modern pie, baked golden in the heat of communal ovens, their crusts flaking, their fillings rich or poor depending on the purse of the buyer. Imagine it, a hunk of dough, stretched by hands that knew the rhythm of kneading as well as they knew the rhythm of prayer. Inside, whatever the house could spare, perhaps scraps of pork, onions fried down until sweet, a handful of herbs crushed between rough palms. For the poor, perhaps only a smear of turnip or a scattering of beans. For the merchant or the guildsman, richer cuts of meat, even spices carried from faraway lands by caravans whose journeys were longer than a lifetime. The dough folded, crimped, sealed, then baked in the glowing oven. And when it emerged, it was not merely food. It was a bundle of warmth, a meal that could be carried in the hand, eaten on the move, shared with a friend, or guarded jealously against the cold. To bite into a pasty was to taste both sustenance and comfort. The crust held the juices of the filling, releasing them slowly with each chew. The warmth traveled down into the body, spreading a quiet reassurance that, though the world was harsh, for this moment at least, one could be content. Children crowded the edges of the marketplace, their eyes wide, their noses lifted toward the smell. A man with blistered hands and a weary back might buy one, if the coin in his pouch would allow it, and carry it home to his family, each bite divided, each mouthful stretched. A merchant, flush with silver, might buy several, eating them without pause, their richness a boast of his fortune. But whether eaten by peasant or by noble, by monk or by pilgrim, the pasty spoke the same language, the language of warmth, of fullness, of satisfaction. It was not only meat pasties, though, that filled the world of medieval indulgence. There were other foods, too. Blood pudding balls, fried and dark, heavy with iron, dense with the essence of life itself. They were not elegant, not refined, but they were powerful. To eat them was to waste nothing, to honor the animal by consuming every part. They filled the belly of the poor, gave strength to the laborer, warmed the hands of those who carried them from the hearth. And in the festivals, when banners flew from the church towers and music rang through the streets, there were stalls and tables laden with delights. Honey cakes thick with spice, sugared almonds glistening like jewels, thin wafers stamped with holy patterns, eaten as both prayer and treat. The laughter of the crowd mingled with the crackle of frying pans, with the clatter of cups filled with ale, with the calls of sellers offering the sweetest, the warmest, the freshest. For the medieval people, food was never just food. It was memory, ritual, survival, and joy. The pasty eaten at the edge of a field in winter, when the snow lay heavy on the furrows, became a story told later by the fire. The honey cake tasted at a wedding feast became a sweetness remembered in old age. The blood pudding ball eaten on a long night of work became the strength that carried a man through until dawn. Even the poorest, those who lived on broth and crust, knew the magic of these foods, if only rarely. And when they did, when the taste of fat and spice lingered on their tongues, when the warmth of a pasty sat heavy in their bellies, they too could feel the world transformed. The hunger of centuries could be softened by a single bite. The endless labor of the fields could be lightened by the promise of sweetness. The harshness of life could be, if only for a moment, forgotten. So it was that medieval junk food was not only about indulgence. It was about survival of the spirit, about the way a man or woman might walk a little lighter, smile a little easier, work a little harder, because they had tasted joy, however fleeting. And as the market closed, as stalls were folded, as torches guttered low and the people drifted back to their homes, the smell of pasties lingered in the air, mingling with the smoke of hearth fires, sinking into the memory of the town itself. For food does not only fill the body, it fills the heart, the mind, the story of a people. And in medieval Europe, that story was written not only in loaves and stews, but in fritters and pasties, in wafers and honey cakes, in small, shining moments of delight. In the hush of the evening, when the marketplace grew quiet and the torches along the church square burned low, there were still pockets of sweetness waiting for those who lingered. Not the great feasts of nobles, not the heavy breads or steaming pasties of the common hearth, but smaller things, fragile things, tokens of joy so delicate that to taste them was to feel, for a brief moment, lifted above the weight of ordinary days. Imagine a handful of candied fennel seeds, tiny, shining beads, like jewels in the palm, their shell of sugar glimmering in the torchlight. To place one upon the tongue was to feel a burst of coolness, a whisper of sweetness, a fragrance that cleared the breath and settled the stomach. For the noble, they were after-dinner refinements. For the merchant, a luxury to impress guests. For the poor, almost unreachable, dreams sold by weight, dreams too costly for daily life. Yet in those little seeds was a kind of magic. They were not just food, but symbols of refinement, of care, of a world where even the breath itself could be sweetened. And then, the wafers. Thin, crisp, so light they seemed almost not of this world. Baked between iron presses, sometimes stamped with holy patterns, the cross, the lamb, the vine. Sold just outside the church doors, where the faithful gathered after Mass. Imagine the hush of the crowd, prayers still lingering in the air, and the quiet crack as teeth met wafer. Sweet, airy, dissolving on the tongue. A reminder of heaven, perhaps, brought into the body in a way both sacred and simple. Children clutched them in small fists. Old men let them melt slowly, savoring each fragment. In those wafers was not merely hunger's answer, but something gentler, a link between the holy and the earthly, between ritual and pleasure. There were other sweets too, though harsher, harder. Dried fruits, apples shriveled by winter air, figs carried from distant lands, raisins like dark gems. They were precious, tough to chew, but once bitten, they yielded their concentrated sweetness. To the peasant, they were rare treasures, maybe a single fig passed around a family at Christmastide. To the pilgrim, they were sustenance, packed tightly in bags, eaten under the stars when bread grew stale and water ran thin. Every bite carried not just sugar, but the memory of sun and orchard, of warmer days when fruit was fresh and plentiful. And for those who lived near rivers and coasts, or who had coin enough in the markets, there were stranger delicacies. Fried eels. Slippery creatures pulled writhing from dark waters, cleaned and cut by skilled hands, then plunged into pans of hot fat. They sizzled and curled, the skin crisping, the meat rich and oily, a taste that lingered long upon the lips. Children laughed as they tried to chew the bony pieces. Nobles demanded them at feasts. Taverns served them hot with mugs of ale. They were messy, perhaps, but they were loved. The river had given its bounty, and from it, people drew not only nourishment, but delight. Each of these foods, seed, wafer, fruit, eel, was small, fleeting, often rare. Yet together they made up a secret language of joy. A noble offering candied fennel to a guest. A child pressing a wafer flat against the roof of their mouth. A pilgrim biting into a raisin, miles from home. A fisherman's wife laughing as she set a plate of fried eel upon the table. And in those moments, life was sweet. The harshness of fields and toil, the coldness of stone walls, the endless toll of bells marking labor and prayer, all of it faded, just a little, under the spell of flavor. For medieval people, these foods were more than indulgence. They were moments of escape, doorways into memory, sparks of joy in a world that often felt gray and heavy. So close your eyes and taste in your imagination the sugar upon the seed, the crispness of the wafer, the chew of dried fruit, the salty richness of eel. Let them melt slowly, one by one, upon the tongue of your mind. Feel how the world softens. Feel how the body settles, Feel how even in an age of scarcity, joy could be found in small, shining bites. And with that sweetness lingering in the air, the medieval town grows quiet once more. The streets empty, the hearths glow low, and somewhere, in the hush of night, a child falls asleep, still tasting honey, still dreaming of wafers. And so, as the long night stretches across the medieval village, the world outside the cottage walls is wrapped in silence. Only the faint crackle of frost upon the thatch, only the soft sigh of the wind threading through the bare branches. Inside, a small flame struggles within the hearth, its glow touching the rough-hewn beams, the woven baskets, the patched garments folded neatly by the bedside. Here, the peasants lie close together, sharing warmth not only from blankets of wool, but from the nearness of each other's bodies. The winter was harsh and firewood scarce. Every spark, every ember was guarded like treasure, for the night was long and the cold unforgiving. They listened to the sounds of sleep, the rhythmic breath of children, the muffled cough of an elder, the restless turning of a dreamer caught in memory. Outside, wolves sometimes called from the forest's edge, their distant voices reminding all who lived here that nature was vast, untamed, and indifferent. Yet in this fragile circle of warmth, there was a kind of peace, a surrender to the rhythm of the season. For winter was not only hardship, it was also rest. The land lay in silence, and so too did those who worked it. The plow waited, the fields slept, and the people, weary from the labors of harvest, allowed themselves, just for a little while, to sink into the stillness, to be carried by dreams deeper than time. And as the villagers breathe slowly in the night, a deeper silence settles, thicker than shadow, softer than any blanket. The hearth's last ember glows faintly, a heartbeat in the dark. It is here, in these quiet moments, that the mind begins its gentle wandering, slipping past the walls of the cottage, past the smoke and the scent of stale bread and honey, past the narrow streets, into a world where reality loosens its hold. The dreams of the medieval people were not idle phantoms, drifting without meaning. They were voices from elsewhere, whispered messages in the language of the gods, of the ancestors, of the earth itself. A dream could speak of hope, of fear, of fortune yet to come. A farmer might see a field of golden grain in the night and awaken with a plan for the next season. A monk might dream of a flickering candle and understand it as a guide to patience and devotion. Even a child might glimpse the shimmer of a distant river and feel, instinctively, that tomorrow would bring laughter and adventure. Close your eyes and imagine this world. The villagers sleeping in humble beds of straw and cloth, hands folded, heads resting against pillows of feathers or bundles of cloth. The wind presses softly against the windows, rattling panes that have known centuries of frost and rain. Each breath, each quiet sigh, is a note in a vast, unseen melody, the slow, steady music of life and its continuance. And the dreams themselves drift in like autumn leaves on a gentle stream, some bright, full of sunlight and promise, others dark, curling with the weight of worry or memory. Yet even the dark dreams are not enemies. They are guides, warnings, lessons from the unseen world, urging the dreamer to listen, to remember, to act when the day awakens. In temples far beyond the village, priests interpret these whispers. In distant lands, scribes write down omens and visions, trying to capture the fleeting shapes of nocturnal thought. And in each humble home, the ordinary sleeper, unaware of such formalities, receives the same gifts, images and feelings, strange and soft, like threads of silk passing through the mind. The child dreams of candied fennel seeds, of honeyed wafers, of the golden warmth of a pasty held in small hands. The peasant dreams of bread rising in the oven, of smoke curling from the hearth, of the familiar smell of stew thick with onions and herbs. Even in sleep, the senses are alive, tasting, smelling, feeling, weaving a tapestry of memory and imagination. And as you listen now, allow yourself to drift alongside them. Let the soft rhythm of the night carry you deeper. Let the stories of food, of warmth, of distant laughter fade into the gentle hum of dreams. Let the world of toil, of cold and hunger slip away, leaving only the quiet, endless night and the whisper of possibility. Sleep now, carried on the breath of centuries, sleep as those before you slept, knowing that in dreams there is nourishment, there is magic, there is a quiet joy that even the hardest day cannot take away. And now, as the night deepens, let your mind drift beyond the simple cottages, beyond the glow of the hearth, beyond the cobbled streets and silent marketplaces. Imagine the horizon stretching further, past rivers, past forests, past mountains that touch the sky. Here, in distant lands, the people also sleep. Here, dreams do not merely follow the turn of bread in the oven, nor the warmth of fire embers. They speak in voices older than stone, older than the first bell, older than any memory you can recall. In Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, the night was alive with messages. Dreams were not idle wanderings of the mind, but divine voices sent to guide, to warn, to illuminate. A farmer might see a river overflowing in silver light. A king might dream of a falcon in flight, and each interpretation carried the weight of action, of fate, of decision. The priests, trained and patient, listened to these whispers of the night, weaving signs and omens from the delicate threads of sleep. Picture a temple rising against the dawn, columns etched with stories of gods and kings. Within its cool, shadowed halls, oil lamps flicker, casting dancing shadows upon the walls. A priest, aged and wise, sits cross-legged upon woven mats, listening as a dreamer recounts visions. Clouds heavy with unseen rain, lions prowling the edges of a palace, stars falling like rain upon the roof. Each detail matters. The social station of the dreamer, the hour of sleep, the position of the body, all are carefully noted. And yet, even here, the rhythm of life mirrors the quiet village. A dream is gentle, like the wind that moves through reeds. A dream is persistent, like the embers that glow long after the fire has died. It is a bridge between what is known and what is hidden, between the toil of the day and the mystery of the night. Close your eyes and imagine yourself lying on a straw mat in a distant temple, the cool stone beneath you grounding your body, the faint scent of incense curling in the air. The dream comes softly, unhurried, like a ripple across a still pond. It may carry warning, or promise, or guidance. Perhaps a river of barley under a golden sun, reminding the farmer of abundance. Perhaps a falcon circling in the sky, telling the king to act with patience. And when the dreamer awakens, the message remains, delicate and persistent, shaping choices, shaping life. Across the lands, from Egypt to Anatolia, Greece to the Fertile Crescent, the language of dreams holds. Temples offer incubation, sleeping in sacred spaces to invite visions. Priests record and interpret. Symbols rise and fall like tides. Snakes, stars, rivers, lions, wheat, fire, all speaking in a language understood not by the conscious mind, but by something older, something deeper. And now, let yourself drift further. Imagine your own breath syncing with the slow, patient rhythm of those ancient dreamers. Each inhalation a step across stone floors of temples. Each exhalation a ripple across the waters of history. Sleep carries you, gently, into a world where dreams are not mere thoughts, but guides, whispers of eternity, lights shining quietly in the darkness. Here, in the hush of night, across centuries and continents, dreams speak. They speak to kings and peasants, to priests and children, to you, listening now. And as you drift further, let their soft murmurings wrap around you, like a blanket woven of memory, imagination, and the quiet certainty that in sleep, all things are possible. And so, the night stretches further, carrying you across deserts, across rivers, across ancient cities whose names are etched in stone and memory. In Mesopotamia, the cradle of written civilization, sleep was not merely a pause from labor. It was a threshold, a thin veil between the world of men and the world of gods. A king might lie upon a mat woven of reeds, surrounded by the faint glow of oil lamps, and in that quiet, the heavens would speak. Dreams were recorded meticulously, etched into clay tablets with the precise hands of scribes. Each detail mattered: the shape of an animal, the movement of a river, the hour of the night. Priests, trained for decades, interpreted these visions with care, understanding that a single misread sign could affect harvests, warfare, even the fate of entire cities. And yet, even in this gravity, Dreams were gentle, soft whispers upon the mind, coaxing insight from the unseen, offering guidance in the language of symbols. Across the Mediterranean, in the temples of Greece, dreams were equally sacred, though their voice was wrapped in ritual and medicine. Pilgrims to Asclepius, god of healing, would sleep upon marble beds in the dimly lit sanctuary, awaiting dreams that might reveal cures, foretell illness, or illuminate the path to wisdom. The night was filled with quiet anticipation, the soft rustle of robes, the distant trickle of water, the faint scent of incense. And in that stillness, visions came. Serpents coiled beside healing waters, stars formed patterns across the ceiling, figures appeared in radiant light, offering answers to questions unspoken. And then there was Artemidorus of Daldis, whose name would echo across centuries. He understood that dreams were not mere omens, nor were they one-size-fits-all messages. Each dream depended upon the dreamer, their age, their gender, their position in the world, their hopes, their fears. He wrote a compendium of dreams, weaving together stories, symbols, and interpretations with a sensitivity that felt almost alive. A dream of falling, a dream of a flooded river, a dream of bread or fire, all could carry different meaning depending on the sleeper's life, and Artemidorus offered a map through this delicate landscape. Imagine now the dreamer, lying in the cool darkness, the body still, the mind adrift. A vision comes, a falcon descending from golden skies. Perhaps it speaks of power, or a new beginning or caution. Perhaps a river swells in moonlight, urging care in decisions, in harvest, in governance. And the interpreter, whether priest or scholar, listens, tracing the subtle currents beneath each image, guiding the dreamer with quiet authority. Across lands and generations, the power of dreams persisted. Nightmares, too, held weight, dark omens of misfortune, warnings to be respected, dangers to be mitigated with ritual, prayer, and action. In sleep, the ordinary and the extraordinary intertwined. In dreams, the divine whispered. And in dreams, the mind found a mirror, reflecting both the world as it was and the world as it might be. Close your eyes now and drift into that same hush. Imagine the clay tablets of Mesopotamia, the marble sanctuaries of Greece, the quiet, knowing hands of Artemidorus guiding thought. Let the symbols rise and fall like gentle waves. Let the visions, both bright and dark, carry you further into rest. Let sleep itself become the bridge between time, between lands, between heart and mind. For in dreams, there is nourishment for the spirit, a quiet counsel for the soul, a reminder that even in darkness, there is meaning, there is insight, there is gentle light. And as you drift, carried on the rhythm of ancient nights, remember, the whispers of sleep have traveled through centuries, reaching even now, to guide, to soothe, to bring peace. And now, as the whispers of dreams fade into a soft, lingering quiet, imagine a world far from medieval villages, far from temples and clay tablets, a land of wide skies, endless plains, and rivers that thread through valleys like silver ribbons. It is the year 1860, and the United States stretches across nearly 2,000 miles of untamed wilderness, from Missouri to California. The world here is vast, open, and full of danger, yet full of hope. In the cool early hours of dawn, before the sun fully rises, riders gather at stations spaced across the prairie. Young, light, and determined, their hands roughened by reins and their eyes bright with purpose, they prepare their mounts. Each horse is more than an animal. It is a companion, a confidant, a lifeline across a continent where towns are few and help even fewer. The leather saddles creak, the stirrups glint in the pale light, and the sound of hooves striking soft earth begins a quiet rhythm, a heartbeat echoing across valleys and forests. Imagine a rider mounting, mail pouch secured close to the chest, a map etched in memory rather than paper. The wind kisses the cheeks, sharp and invigorating, carrying the scent of sagebrush and pine. Each mile carries urgency. The letter may bear news of life or death, promise or peril. And yet, in that solitude, there is a kind of meditation. The horse gallops, steady and true. The plains stretch endlessly, golden and whispering. The rider listens to the rhythm of hoofbeats, to the subtle changes in the wind, to the soft creak of leather, to the distant call of a bird over the horizon. The stations come like fleeting islands, a stable, a lantern flickering in the dark, a helper offering a fresh mount and a word of encouragement. The relay is precise, the pace relentless, and through it all, the riders endure storms, heat, dust, exhaustion, even the threat of outlaws or wild animals. Yet in their focus, there is clarity. In their determination, there is purpose. Each mile brings them closer to connection, closer to the life carried in the small leather pouch. Each mile is a thread binding distant towns, distant families, distant dreams. The Pony Express, though brief in its years, was more than a mail system. It was courage and ingenuity, trust between humans and horses, faith in the unseen bonds of a young nation. The letters carried were small, yet their significance was immense. Words that could change fortunes, news that could alter destinies, messages that could soothe anxiety or ignite hope. And as the sun rises fully over the horizon, the dust rising behind each gallop seems almost like smoke from a distant hearth, linking this rugged frontier with the warm corners of every home it reaches. Close your eyes and feel the wind, hear the hoofbeats, sense the urgency and the solitude. Imagine the vast plains stretching in every direction, the horizon endless, the journey immense, yet every rider moving with calm determination, guided by purpose and a quiet courage that carries them across the miles. And in this rhythm, in this space between heartbeats and hoofbeats, the spirit of connection, of endurance, and of hope becomes palpable, wrapping around you like a gentle, invisible blanket. And as the riders vanish into the distance, the letters safely in transit, the land sleeps once more under a vast, watchful sky. The world is immense, yet the threads of human determination and ingenuity weave it together, quietly, patiently, like the slow, deliberate rhythm of your own breath in this moment of rest. And so the sun climbs higher, brushing the endless plains with a gentle warmth, yet the riders of the Pony Express remain steadfast, moving as one with the rhythm of the land. Imagine the soft, steady thump of hooves upon dusted trails, a cadence that carries across valleys, hills, and rivers, echoing in quiet harmony with the heartbeat of the world itself. Each rider leans forward, body light, hands firm on reins, eyes scanning the horizon that stretches like a living canvas of earth and sky. At every station, a small island of human presence rises from the wilderness. Here, a stable hums with quiet activity, new saddles prepared, horses fed and brushed, riders swapping the weight of letters from pouch to pouch. There is an unspoken intimacy between rider and horse, a mutual trust forged through long nights, harsh storms, and endless miles. The animal senses fatigue yet moves willingly, guided by the steady hands and calm voice of its companion. And the rider, in turn, learns patience, endurance, and the subtle language of hoofbeats and breath, of wind and scent, of movement and silence. The dangers are never far. Thunderheads roll over distant hills, dark and low, promising sudden storms of rain and wind. Outlaws may watch from hidden ridges, waiting for the misstep, the moment of vulnerability. Rivers, swollen with melted snow, demand caution and skill. Desolate stretches test courage and resolve. Yet in these trials, there is clarity, a deep meditation in motion. Every challenge hones the senses, sharpens the mind, and reminds the rider that survival is not only of body, but of attention, of patience, of heart. Imagine the mail pouch pressed against the rider's chest, small and unassuming, yet carrying whispers of distant towns, of families waiting with hope or anxiety, of the pulse of a young nation itself. Each letter, each message, a thread weaving communities together, a quiet assurance that even across the vast, untamed land, human connection endures. And in that endurance, there is a kind of grace, a silent, gentle triumph, moving across the horizon like the slow, deliberate exhalation of the earth itself. Close your eyes and drift into this rhythm, the soft thrum of hooves, the wind brushing against the face, the subtle scent of earth and leather, the whisper of letters traveling unseen yet carrying lives within. Let the vastness of the plains calm the mind, let the steady determination of the riders soothe the spirit, Let the quiet courage of those young men and their loyal horses fold around you like a blanket of understanding and serenity. And as the day wanes, the riders disappear into the embrace of distant hills, the stations fall silent once more, and the land itself seems to breathe in quiet satisfaction. The journey is relentless, yet it is also tender. Each step, each mile, a meditation on trust, endurance, and the quiet dignity of duty. And as you breathe, carried on the rhythm of hooves and horizon, let sleep take you further still, into the vast, gentle expanse of time, effort, and human connection that stretches endlessly before and behind. And now, as the plains of America fade into the quiet hum of history, let your mind drift even further back, across centuries and continents, to a world where rivers cradled the first civilizations, where the sun painted the fertile lands of Sumer in gold, and where the soft, steady flow of the Tigris and Euphrates carried not only water but life itself. Here, in the cool hush of early cities, humans discovered a simple, profound magic: beer. Close your eyes and imagine the first clay pots, rough to the touch, blackened by fire, yet full of promise. Grain, golden and fragrant, is soaked, malted, and stirred by hands worn yet gentle, guided by generations who had learned the alchemy of fermentation. The air is thick with a warm, sweet scent, rising like incense from the bubbling liquid, carrying with it both nourishment and reverence. Here, in these humble vessels, men and women discovered that the simplest things, a handful of barley, a touch of water, the quiet patience of time, could be transformed into something extraordinary. Beer was not merely drink. It was a sustenance, a currency, a ritual. It flowed in daily life, sustaining workers who built temples and lifted stones, fueling labor with quiet energy. It flowed in temples, offered to gods and goddesses, a sacred gift, a hymn in liquid form. Ninkasi, the goddess of beer, was sung to in clay tablets, her praise entwined with every sip, every measure, every pot that foamed upon the hands of devoted brewers. Picture the women of Sumer, their hair tucked under simple cloths, their hands stirring and kneading, measuring, tasting, and pouring. Their knowledge was ancient, intimate, sacred. They understood the rhythms of fermentation, the subtle changes of temperature and time, the way a rising bubble foretold the strength of the brew. In their skill, civilization found continuity, agriculture, economy, ritual, and culture entwined, all flowing through their steady, patient hands. And then, drift forward along the Nile, to Egypt, where beer became even more entwined with society. Temples and workshops echoed with activity. Workers of pyramids received rations of beer and bread, their days long, their labor immense. Brewers, again mostly women, prepared vats large and small, each batch a careful balance of grain, water, and time, sacred and practical at once. Beer was part of festivals, funerary rites, offerings, and feasts. It was a thread connecting gods and humans, work and worship, the mundane and the divine. Close your eyes now and imagine the sound of bubbling pots, the scent of fermenting grain rising in gentle waves, the soft light of oil lamps reflecting upon ancient stone walls. Feel the slow, rhythmic motion of hands stirring, pouring, tasting. Imagine the quiet satisfaction of creation, the intimacy of a craft perfected over generations, the profound connection between human life and the liquid gold it produces. Beer shaped the world. It shaped agriculture, demanding careful sowing, harvesting, and storing of grain. It shaped social structures, defining roles and responsibilities. It shaped ritual, connecting earth, sky, and human hands in a sacred cycle. And in every sip, in every foaming cup, there was both pleasure and meaning, a quiet affirmation that even in simple things, civilization had found a way to endure, to nourish, to celebrate life. And as you drift in this meditation, let the warm scent, the gentle rhythms, the patient hands, and the sacred liquid itself carry you further, deeper, into rest. Let your mind imagine the ancient world, serene and alive, flowing like a river through time, and know that in the quiet patience of brewing, in the humble magic of grain and water, humanity discovered a gift that endures to this very day. And now, let us linger longer in the quiet corners of ancient civilization, where the hands that shaped life were often the hands of women. Close your eyes and imagine the soft glow of a hearth, the gentle rise of steam from clay pots, and the measured movements of women who, through skill, patience, and wisdom, transformed simple grain and water into liquid gold. In Sumer, it was the women who understood the delicate alchemy of fermentation, who watched over vats and vessels with the precision of a healer and the devotion of a priestess. Their knowledge was both practical and sacred. They knew that the strength of a brew could sustain a worker through the long hours of lifting stones for a temple, that a well-tended batch could bring communities together, and that in sacred ceremonies, beer could bridge the human and divine. Picture them working in the dim light of early morning, hands roughened by years of kneading and stirring, eyes alert to the subtle changes of the liquid, ears attuned to the gentle rise and fall of bubbles. Each gesture mattered, each measure, each stir, each taste, a quiet ritual in itself. And yet, their work was more than labor. It was stewardship. It was care for the body, the spirit, and the social fabric of their world. In Egypt, the role of women in brewing expanded into temples and estates, weaving together ritual, economy, and daily life. Here, the brew was sacred, offered to gods and goddesses, to workers, to kings and queens. The women who oversaw this craft were not only brewers but custodians of culture. They managed production, maintained standards, and ensured that the flow of beer sustained both the sacred rites and the rhythms of everyday life. Close your eyes and feel the quiet power in their hands, the slow patience of their craft, the subtle joy in the creation of something that nourishes, comforts, and connects. Imagine the aroma rising from vats, the sound of clay scraping on stone, the quiet conversations exchanged over measurements and stirring. In this simple act of brewing, civilization found continuity, stability, and harmony. The social impact of beer was profound. It shaped labor, encouraging the cultivation of grain, organizing fields, and sustaining workers. It shaped community, offering shared moments of celebration, ritual, and relief. And it shaped belief, intertwining human effort with divine favor, reminding all who partook that life, labor, and devotion were inseparable threads in the fabric of existence. Even now, as we drift in the quiet of imagination, one can sense the enduring legacy of these women, their patience, their wisdom, their gentle authority. Every sip of beer across centuries carries a whisper of their work, a soft echo of the hearths and temples, the laughter, the labor, and the devotion that gave life to this ancient gift. And as night deepens around you, let this image settle gently into your mind. The women of Sumer and Egypt, hands busy yet calm, hearts attuned to rhythm, minds aware of both duty and joy. Let their quiet power, their sacred craft, and their enduring wisdom guide your own breath and thoughts, carrying you deeper into sleep, into rest, into the timeless river of human experience and connection. And now, let your thoughts drift gently across the fields of ancient lands, where the first golden waves of barley swayed beneath the sun. Imagine the earth soft beneath your feet, fertile and alive, the rivers tracing silver paths through the soil, and human hands tending each stalk with careful, deliberate patience. It was in these fields that the rhythm of life itself began to take shape, guided by an unexpected yet profound force: beer. Beer was more than a drink. It was the pulse of civilization, a quiet heartbeat linking grain, soil, water, and human hands. Its demand shaped agriculture, teaching communities the cycles of planting and harvest, the patience of waiting, the wisdom of storing and preserving. The plow cutting through the earth, the sickle harvesting the stalks, the careful threshing and malting, all were movements guided by the promise of a golden, foaming reward at the end of labor. Close your eyes and imagine the scenes: families working together, men and women bending over fields in steady rhythm, children scattering the chaff, laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves and the song of birds. The grain was more than sustenance. It was promise, potential, and preparation for the sacred act of brewing. Each batch of beer was both nourishment and motivation, both practical and spiritual, both daily ritual and celebration. In the cities, the economy itself hummed to the tune of beer. Workers received it as wages, temples stocked it as offerings, merchants traded it for goods, and kings ensured its flow to maintain stability and order. A simple cup of beer was a node in a complex web connecting labor, commerce, ritual, and society. Through it, early civilization learned organization, planning, and cooperation. Through it, communities bonded, hierarchies formed, and the shared rhythm of life found expression in tangible, joyous ways. And beyond the economy, beer carried a sacred weight. It was offered to gods, to ancestors, to the unseen forces that guided harvests and protected cities. It was shared in festivals and funerals alike, bridging the gap between life and death, labor and leisure, mortal and divine. Its presence in every corner of daily life reminded all who drank that the simplest things, a handful of grain, water, fire, time, could hold meaning that transcended the mundane. Imagine now the slow, steady pouring of frothing beer into clay cups, the gentle clink of pottery, the warmth radiating from hearth and hand. Each sip carries with it the labor of fields, the care of brewers, the blessings of deities, and the heartbeat of communities bound together by shared effort and shared joy. It is a drink that nourishes both body and soul, a mirror of civilization itself, reflecting patience, ingenuity, and the deep human desire to connect. And as the night wraps itself around your thoughts, let the rhythm of barley fields, the gentle flow of rivers, the patient hands of brewers, and the soft clink of cups settle you. Let beer's ancient pulse, its quiet power, and its sustaining warmth carry you deeper into rest, into dreams, into the soft, endless embrace of time, work, and human endeavor. And now, let your mind drift gently across centuries, across lands and rivers, across towns, markets, and temple halls. Imagine the soft pulse of history weaving itself into a quiet, unbroken tapestry, threads of human life, ingenuity, courage, and ritual stretching from the misted streets of medieval Europe to the vast plains of the American frontier and onward to the sun-baked fields of Sumer and Egypt. Remember the humble fritters of early dawn, their golden edges crisp and sweet, the taste of honey lingering on the tongue like a small, secret joy. Remember the pasties, warm and savory, held in calloused hands, shared or hoarded, each bite a meditation on survival and pleasure. The wafers, the honey cakes, the candied seeds, the blood pudding balls, all spoke a language beyond hunger, a language of community, ritual, and the fleeting, radiant moments of delight that punctuated a life of labor and endurance. Drift now to the endless horizon of the Pony Express, where young riders lean into the wind, hooves drumming like the quiet heartbeat of a restless land. Feel the rhythm of motion, the intimacy of rider and horse, the courage tempered by exhaustion, the focus sharpened by danger. Each letter carried across the plains, each relay at a lonely station, each breath of wind and dust was a quiet testament to human determination, to connection, to the desire to bridge distance and isolation. And farther still, across time and space, sense the golden barley swaying in ancient fields, the careful hands of women tending vats of foaming beer, the rhythm of stirring, measuring, and pouring. Smell the warm, sweet scent of fermentation rising in temple halls, the subtle satisfaction in labor that nourishes both body and soul. Here, in these sacred and practical acts, civilization itself found form, agriculture, economy, social structure, ritual, and celebration, all flowing from a single humble creation. And in all these moments, simple food, daring riders, sacred brews, there is a lesson carried silently through the ages, that joy, sustenance, courage, and connection are never bound by wealth, by geography, or by time. That even in scarcity, in isolation, in the quiet work of hands and heart, humanity has always discovered ways to flourish, to savor, to endure. Close your eyes and let these images blend, merging into a slow, gentle river of memory and imagination. Hear the bells of a medieval morning, the laughter and chatter of market stalls, the soft thrum of hooves on dusty trails, the bubbling of beer in clay pots, the quiet hands of women shaping civilization. Let these moments, distant yet intimate, fill your mind with calm, with wonder, with the soft reassurance that the human story is a tapestry of care, courage, and quiet brilliance. And as sleep begins to pull you into its embrace, let this tapestry wrap around you. Let the scents, sounds, and textures of centuries soothe your mind. Let the golden fritters, the warm pasties, the steady horses, the sacred brew, and the patient hands of history itself lull you into gentle rest. For in this quiet journey, you are not merely a witness to the past, you are cradled by it, carried along its soft, enduring currents, into the deep and endless night of dreams. Close your eyes and drift once more to the humble kitchens of medieval towns. The fires burn low, sending ribbons of smoke curling toward a low wooden ceiling. Here, the aroma of frying apples, melted cheese, and honey cakes hangs heavy, filling every corner with memory and comfort. You can hear the soft scraping of wooden spoons on iron pots, the hushed conversations of women kneading dough, and the laughter of children stealing bites when no one watches. In these kitchens, life's quiet magic unfolded. Each morsel of food carried stories, of seasons, of celebrations, of rituals repeated year after year. These kitchens were sanctuaries, small worlds where survival intertwined with joy, where the human spirit found respite in sweetness, crispness, and warmth. Even in scarcity, even in shadows, the heart of civilization was nurtured here, in the quiet devotion of hands, in the subtle alchemy of flavor, and in the gentle sharing of sustenance. Now, drift across oceans and centuries to the American plains. Feel the wind against your face. Hear the distant echo of hooves thundering across vast, open spaces. Imagine the riders leaning low, urging their horses forward, hearts pounding in rhythm with the galloping stride, eyes scanning the horizon for danger, for safety, for the next station. Each letter carried was more than ink on paper. It was a lifeline, a hope, a message of connection. In the solitude of these endless trails, the riders became part of the land, the sky, the quiet pulse of human determination. And even when exhaustion threatened, even when storms raged, there was a gentle rhythm to their courage, a quiet poetry in every measured movement, a deep trust between human and horse that transcended fear. And then, float gently back to the ancient world, to the temples and homes where women guided the sacred craft of brewing. Watch their steady hands, the quiet care in every stir, the patient devotion as the liquid transforms, foams, and matures. Here, in these acts, the mundane becomes sacred. Grain, water, and fire meet in delicate harmony, giving rise to sustenance, ritual, and celebration. The women are the silent architects of civilization, their work shaping economy, culture, and social cohesion. Every sip of beer, every foaming cup shared, carries their legacy, a quiet reminder that civilization itself flows from patience, care, and quiet devotion. Drift further now, across time and space. Sense the continuity of human effort, from the baker's hands in a medieval town, to the rider's grip on reins in the American plains, to the brewer's careful guidance of fermentation. The same human qualities, patience, creativity, courage, devotion, echo across centuries. Imagine the laughter of children, the quiet satisfaction of work well done, the shared cup of beer after long labor, the warmth of a pasty eaten beside a cold stone wall. Each moment, each act, small yet profound, ripples across history, reminding us that joy, community, and care are timeless. And finally, as night deepens, feel the soft pulse of civilization itself. Hear the quiet rhythms, the boiling of grain, the soft murmur of marketplace voices, the gallop of hooves across empty plains, the crackle of fire beneath a clay pot. These are the subtle currents of human life, flowing gently through time, carrying hope, nourishment, and connection. Rest in this pulse. Let it cradle you, let it soothe your thoughts. Here, in this endless river of history, every flavor, every act of courage, every careful craft becomes a lullaby. Let it carry you deeper into rest, into dreams, into the gentle embrace of sleep, where the stories of humanity continue softly, endlessly, like a quiet, unbroken song. Close your eyes and drift slowly into a medieval morning once more. Hear the soft clatter of wooden bowls, the scrape of knives across coarse bread, and the gentle murmur of families awakening. Outside, The sun peeks through narrow windows, casting warm lines across stone floors, while the distant bells mark another day, steady and unwavering. Imagine the baker lifting fresh loaves from the oven, the crust steaming, their aroma mingling with that of roasting meats, boiling grains, and sweet honey cakes. Children stretch their small limbs, rubbing sleep from eyes, while elders tend fires, stirring pots that have carried warmth and sustenance for generations. Each movement, measured and deliberate, carries both necessity and grace. And listen, hear the footsteps on cobblestones, the cartwheels rolling through muddy streets, the horses' soft neighs and snorts. Life flows in rhythms, in the quiet repetition of labor and care. Every loaf of bread, every bowl of gruel, every slice of pasty is not only sustenance, but a subtle music of human endurance. The people of this time, though unaware of the centuries to come, are writing stories with their hands, with their meals, with the very act of living. Now drift to the vibrant heart of a festival where towns and villages gather in celebration. Picture banners swaying gently in the wind, music drifting from lutes and flutes, and the laughter of children skipping between stalls. The air is heavy with scents, roasting meats, candied fruits, fried eels, honey cakes, and the faint smokiness of hearth fires. See the families sharing food, merchants offering their goods, and the quiet joy of artisans proud of their craft. Each treat eaten, each morsel shared, is an act of community, of ritual, of fleeting delight that etches itself into memory. The hum of conversation rises and falls like waves. The clink of mugs and the soft rustle of fabrics create a gentle rhythm. In these festivals, joy is not loud or hurried, but soft, deliberate, a balm for the spirit amidst a life of work and toil. Drift now to the pilgrims and wandering monks, walking long roads in the early morning mist. Hear the soft squish of wet earth beneath their sandals, the quiet sigh of wind through trees, the distant call of birds heralding the day. In their packs, cheese curds, small pasties, and dried fruits sustain them. Each bite offers warmth, sustenance, and a fleeting taste of home. Feel their solitude, the introspection that comes with walking for hours, days, or weeks. Yet even in solitude, they are not alone. They are part of a living network, connected by shared knowledge, trade routes, and the simple joys of human craft. Each step, each meal, each encounter is part of a larger tapestry, a quiet rhythm that sustains civilization even in its humblest corners. And now, let your imagination ride across the wide, open plains of 1860s America, following the young, fearless Pony Express riders. Feel the wind against your face, smell the dust and grass, hear the pounding of hooves and the low whistle of the wind. Each rider leans into the saddle, eyes sharp, heart steady, carrying messages that could change lives. Picture the relay stations, dim lanterns glowing in the dusk, horses breathing softly, riders switching mounts in practiced silence. Every mile covered is a quiet act of courage, of determination, of connection across vast spaces. The plains stretch endlessly, yet the human spirit bridges distance, building networks of trust and hope, carrying not only letters, but the pulse of communication, unity, and possibility. Drift now again to the ancient world, to the quiet hum of temple breweries and household vats. Women tend fermentation, measuring, stirring, and tasting, their movements calm, their minds focused. The aroma of grain and yeast rises like a gentle prayer, filling the room with warmth, safety, and care. Imagine the sacred hymns to Ninkasi echoing softly in the background, the clay vessels lined with precision, the first golden froth spilling gently into waiting cups. Each sip shared sustains not only the body, but relationships, economy, and ritual. Civilization is held together in these moments, by the quiet devotion of women, by the rhythm of work, by the care for both sustenance and the sacred. Close your eyes and drift gently into the quiet chambers of ancient homes. In Mesopotamia, dreams were not mere illusions, but messages whispered from the divine. Imagine a sleeper lying beneath woven mats, their mind drifting into a world of shadows and light, of symbols and signs. Priests and interpreters waited, ready to decipher these visions, translating the quiet language of the night into guidance for kings, farmers, and families alike. Feel the subtle weight of each dream, the gentle urgency, the quiet warning, the promise of insight. Dreams are bridges, linking mortal hearts to the vast, unseen currents of the world, teaching patience, caution, and hope. And as you listen to the silence of the night, let each dream wrap around you like a soft shawl, carrying wisdom across the ages. Now, drift to the sacred halls of Egypt and Greece, where dreams were nurtured through rituals. Imagine soft incense smoke rising, the flicker of lamps casting shadows on stone walls, the hushed prayers of devotees. People sought visions of health, guidance, or prophecy, resting their heads upon the cool stone, trusting in divine insight. Hear the gentle hum of meditation, the soft rustle of garments, the rhythmic chanting that seems to breathe with the walls themselves. In these temples, the unseen and the human coexisted, and every whispered prayer or interpreted dream strengthened the threads connecting individuals, communities, and the divine. Float now to the Hellenistic world, where Artemidorus of Daldis wrote his careful dream manuals. His words remind us that dreams are deeply personal, colored by social status, circumstance, and individual longing. Imagine a scholar hunched over scrolls, quill in hand, translating nocturnal visions into guidance that could shape decisions and lives. Consider the thoughtfulness of his work, how he understood that each mind carries its own language, its own symbolism, its own secret rhythm. And as you drift deeper, let this early recognition of the psyche soothe your mind, a quiet precursor to the gentle reflections we carry into sleep today. Drift across civilizations to rituals of food, drink, and festivity. Picture a community gathered in celebration, offering bread, honey, and beer to gods and ancestors. The laughter of children, the shared cups of frothy beer, the music of flutes and drums, all these acts connect human hearts to one another and to something larger than themselves. Imagine the warmth spreading through the crowd, the joy softening the harshness of daily toil. Every ritual, whether in a small home or a vast temple, creates bonds, transmits care, and whispers that even the simplest human acts can become sacred threads in the tapestry of life. Now, drift through the markets, streets, and fields once more. The hum of activity is gentle yet constant. Merchants calling softly, animals grazing or resting, hands exchanging food, coin, or labor. Civilization pulses quietly in these moments. The seemingly small acts, baking bread, riding a horse across plains, brewing beer, interpreting dreams, are the quiet rhythms that sustain society. Feel how each gesture, each breath, each simple act carries forward the work, care, and creativity of generations. Let the realization settle softly that the smallest things we do, when done with intention and care, echo across time in unseen but meaningful ways. Drift now to the riders of the Pony Express once again, their faces set in quiet determination, hearts aligned with the rhythm of hooves. Each mile covered, each letter delivered, is more than movement, it is courage manifested. Feel their quiet bravery, their unwavering focus, the intimate trust between rider and horse. And let it remind you that human courage is often silent, humble, and enduring, forming invisible bridges that connect distant people, ideas, and moments across vast spaces and times. And finally, drift into the sweetness of shared food, the warmth of hearths, the gentle murmur of dreams, the sacred rhythms of labor and ritual. Imagine a golden thread weaving through all these moments, linking fritters, pasties, dreams, beer, riders, and ritual into a single tapestry of human experience. Let this thread carry you softly into rest. The golden warmth of bread, the gentle sweetness of honey, the courage of riders, the devotion of brewers, the insight of dreamers, all combine to cradle you. In this quiet immersion, history itself becomes a lullaby, and the pulse of human life, soft, steady, and enduring, guides you gently into the endless embrace of sleep. Drift slowly into a quiet morning in a medieval village. Hear the soft sound of wooden wheels on muddy paths, the low clatter of pots and pans, and the subtle rhythm of hands shaping dough, mending clothes, or tending hearth fires. Every movement is measured, deliberate, purposeful. Picture women bending over stone sinks, kneading bread for the day, scraping every last bit of grain into loaves that will nourish family and neighbors alike. Men rise early to repair carts, sharpen tools, or carry water from distant wells. Children run barefoot across damp fields, their laughter piercing the quiet, a bright thread weaving through the fabric of daily life. Even in hardship, there is creativity. From a scrap of leftover meat, a savory pasty is born. From stale bread, a warm treat soaked in ale or honey is made. From the simplest grain, the foamy brew that nourishes body and spirit is born. The hum of ingenuity resonates through every home, every field, every market, a testament to human resilience and imagination. Drift now into the bustling center of a town, the market square. Feel the warm sun on your skin. Hear the soft murmur of bargaining voices rising and falling like a gentle tide. The scent of roasted meats, sweet pastries, and fresh bread mingles with the earthy smell of hay, clay, and dust. Imagine a mother handing a child a small honey cake, its warmth carrying comfort beyond taste. Picture travelers pausing at a vendor's stall, tasting cheese curds or fried fish skins, savoring both flavor and the connection to a shared, living tradition. Every exchange, every shared bite, every coin passed hand to hand becomes a subtle thread in the tapestry of communal life, quietly holding society together. Now drift into a festival that stretches across the town like a living ribbon. Banners sway gently in the breeze, music rises softly from lutes, flutes, and drums, and children's laughter bubbles like clear streams over cobblestones. The stalls overflow with delicacies. Candied fennel seeds glinting like tiny stars, wafers stamped with sacred symbols, dried fruits, honey cakes heavy with spice, fried eels crisped in fat. Taste, smell, and joy mingle here. Notice how each small indulgence carries history, techniques passed through generations, rituals repeated, and moments of communal celebration preserved in the human memory. The festival is not loud or chaotic, but soft, flowing, and harmonious. Even the most ordinary citizen becomes part of the ritual of wonder. Each act of sharing, each smile, each morsel of sweetness is an echo of centuries, a subtle harmony connecting past, present, and future. Drift now to the roads beyond the town. Hear the soft squish of wet mud beneath boots, the creak of wagons, the faint sigh of wind through trees. Travelers move slowly, sometimes alone, sometimes in quiet company. Each step, each bite of cheese curd or sip of water is a meditation in motion, a rhythm of endurance and survival. Sense the solitude, the reflection, the intimacy with the land itself. Pilgrims, messengers, and wandering monks walk quietly, yet their paths connect distant places, distant hearts. Every journey, every moment of quiet perseverance becomes a thread linking community, faith, and human determination, a reminder that even in isolation, one is never truly alone. Now, float across oceans and plains once more to the vast American frontier. Hear the thundering rhythm of hooves against open plains, the whispering wind brushing past the riders' faces, the quiet murmur of horses' breath and shifting saddles. Each rider carries a letter, each mile covered a commitment, each station passed a quiet triumph. Imagine the vastness of the land, the dangers hidden in its beauty, the courage that moves silently through unbroken miles. The Pony Express is not only a feat of speed, but of heart, of determination, of the quiet pulse of humanity striving to connect, to bridge, to endure. Return now to ancient homes and temple breweries, where women guide the sacred craft of fermentation. Observe the gentle precision of each stir, each measurement, each careful observation of foaming liquid. Hear the quiet bubbling of grain and water, smell the soft, nutty sweetness rising from clay vessels. Every cup poured, every shared sip, carries nourishment, ritual, and connection. These acts are small, yet they sustain society itself. Civilization pulses quietly in their hands, and the subtle devotion, the patient care, the ritual reverence transform daily work into sacred practice. Drift again into the soft chambers of sleepers. Feel the hush of night, the gentle flutter of eyelids, the quiet stirrings of dreams. In ancient times, these visions carried messages, guidance, warnings, insight, prophecy. Priests and scholars observed, interpreted, and wrote. Consider how dreams link the unseen to the seen, the personal to the communal, the mortal to the divine. In their quiet language, dreams teach patience, caution, and hope. Let this awareness wash over you as you drift, a soft reminder that even the invisible currents of the mind carry wisdom across time. Imagine now the hum of ritual, hands offering bread, cups of beer raised, incense curling in warm air, voices whispering prayers, children laughing, elders nodding. Each movement, each shared experience, creates bonds, subtly threading one human heart to another. Notice how small acts, sharing a morsel, performing a quiet ceremony, tending a flame, form the foundation of community. They teach that life is held together by gentle persistence, by care, and by attention to the everyday, even as history surges forward in grand and visible ways. Drift through centuries as if walking lightly on clouds. From the medieval kitchen to the bustling market, from the plains of America to temple breweries, every act carries forward human knowledge, care, and creativity. Every loaf, every pasty, every letter, every cup, every interpreted dream is a tiny pulse of civilization. Feel how each thread of daily life, of courage, of skill, of ritual, weaves together into a fabric that holds societies and hearts, quietly and invisibly. The vastness of human effort, subtle and persistent, forms a gentle rhythm that echoes across time. And now, drift fully into rest. Let your mind float above stone streets, open plains, flickering hearth fires, and sacred breweries. Hear the soft music of human life, kneading, stirring, galloping, whispering, sharing, each sound a note in the endless lullaby of history. Allow yourself to rest in this flow, carried gently across time by the human spirit, by ingenuity, by courage, by quiet care. Let the soft pulse of civilization cradle you. Let the sweet warmth of past meals, shared rituals, and brave acts of connection soothe your thoughts. And let sleep receive you fully, carrying you into the gentle embrace of night. Close your eyes and drift slowly into the early morning of a medieval town. Mist clings to the cobblestones, soft and damp, and the first light stretches across half-timbered houses. The smell of wet earth mixes with the faint smoke of hearth fires, curling from chimneys into the still air. Markets are yet silent, but the hum of coming life is already stirring. A baker lifts a tray of golden bread from the oven, its crust crackling gently. The warm aroma spreads through the narrow streets, a quiet invitation to those who rise before the sun. A milkmaid treads softly, her bucket swinging from a wooden yoke, and the cow's low murmurs mingle with the whisper of morning wind. Children follow the paths of adults, barefoot and eager, their laughter as delicate as birds' song. Each step, each motion, each quiet breath carries the rhythm of a town waking to another day. It is a rhythm of survival, yes, but also of subtle delight. The promise of a fresh pasty, a sweet fritter, the first sip of warm ale, the shared smile between neighbors. In the stillness before the bustle, there is a sacred pause, a moment where the town itself seems to inhale deeply and prepare to exhale life, warmth, and sustenance. Even in these quiet streets, ingenuity lingers. Farmers carry bundles of herbs, vegetables, or dried fruits, each carefully selected, preserved, and carried with skill honed over generations. The marketplace is not yet crowded, but already it hums softly with possibility, the promise of connection, of trade, of fleeting joy. And as the sun rises slowly, spilling pale gold over timber and stone, the town begins to pulse. Voices mingle, carts creak, animals stir, and the market breathes life into every street. Yet beneath it all remains the memory of the night's dreams, the soft echo of sleep, the invisible thread of human hope that stretches quietly into the new day. Now drift into a square where preparation for a festival unfolds. Banners, woven with bright colors, are lifted carefully to flutter in the gentle morning breeze. The scent of sweet honey, warm bread, and roasting meats begins to blend with the clean, crisp air. Artisans set out their wares, candied fennel seeds glittering like tiny stars, wafers stamped with holy symbols, and dried fruits piled high, heavy with color and fragrance. Hear the low murmur of voices, children giggling as they run between stalls, the rhythmic chopping of vegetables, and the soft clink of coins passing from hand to hand. Imagine bakers dusting powdered sugar over honey cakes, their hands moving with the grace of practiced repetition, each motion a meditation in itself. Even the simplest snacks carry meaning. A pasty is not merely food, it is warmth, nourishment, and comfort rolled into a golden crust. A blood pudding ball is not merely sustenance, it is a testament to care, resourcefulness, and respect for life. These small acts, repeated daily or during special festivals, form the quiet pulse of community, reminding everyone that even fleeting pleasures are imbued with significance. In the preparation of festivals, ordinary life becomes ritual. Each sweet, each pastry, each simple gesture carries memory, continuity, and joy. The town is alive not only in body but in spirit, connected by the invisible threads of shared effort, shared taste, and shared history. Drift further into the festival as it unfolds. The sounds, smells, and colors converge into a subtle symphony. Soft flutes play alongside the laughter of children. The warm glow of sunlight catches the glint of sugar on candied fruits. Aromas of roasting meat, fresh bread, and honey-laden pastries swirl gently, intertwining with the cool scent of morning dew. Walk slowly among the crowd, noticing the smallest details. A mother handing her child a sticky sweet, the quiet nod of a monk observing from the corner, the merchant adjusting the display of dried fruits with careful hands. Each interaction is measured, deliberate, human. Even the smallest snack, eaten with awareness, becomes a meditation, a celebration, a bridge between the mundane and the sacred. Notice how the simple act of tasting, of sharing, of savoring allows every person present to participate in a ritual of continuity, linking generations, honoring past craftsmanship, and carrying forward tradition. In this gentle, immersive rhythm, the festival itself breathes, pulsing softly through the heart of the town, through each hand, each smile, each fleeting moment of delight. As the day wanes, the sun dipping low and casting long, soft shadows across cobblestones, drift into quiet reflection. The laughter of the day lingers in the air, now softened, tempered by the onset of evening. Hearth fires glow faintly in windows, and the aroma of warm bread or sweet pastries drifts gently, a reminder of care and labor. Children return to their homes, the tired smiles of merchants mirrored by the gentle bow of artisans closing their stalls. In the quiet of the streets, one can almost hear the echo of footsteps from centuries past, the same rhythms of work, of joy, of survival, of human persistence. Even as night falls, the memory of taste, sound, and scent remains. The soft crunch of a pasty, the sweetness of honey, the rich aroma of roasted meats, all these sensory echoes cradle the mind, connecting the present with the past, guiding one gently toward rest, toward sleep, toward a meditation upon the continuity of human life and ingenuity. Finally, drift into sleep alongside these ancient streets and festival echoes. As darkness envelopes the town, the quiet hum of life continues unseen. A cow lowing in a distant field, the faint crackle of a dying hearth, the whisper of wind through open windows. And in sleep, dreams arrive, subtle, mysterious, guiding, consoling. The peasant, the merchant, the traveler, the child, they all surrender to the night, and in their dreams, the boundaries of time and place dissolve. They touch the divine, they relive joy, they encounter wonder, they hold close memories of sweetness, courage, and human ingenuity. And as you listen, as you drift, you too are invited to step gently into this dreamscape, a world where food, ritual, courage, and creativity form a soft, enduring lullaby, carrying every mind and heart into the quiet embrace of night. Drift slowly into the countryside, where medieval fields stretch like muted tapestries under a soft, silver dawn. The harvest is nearly complete. Hands, calloused and strong, gather the final bundles of wheat and barley, their movements steady, almost ritualistic, as if each stalk holds a fragment of memory, a whisper of seasons past. The air is filled with the scent of damp earth, dry straw, and the faint sweetness of grains newly cut. A scythe hums as it sweeps through the golden swath, a sound both mechanical and musical. In these moments, work becomes a meditation. Every gesture, every breath, every footstep upon the soil echoes with continuity, linking the laborers to generations who came before and will come after. And yet, even in toil, there is joy. A child races between rows, carrying a tiny sheaf, laughing with abandon. A woman pauses to lift a head of wheat, feeling the weight and the promise it carries. Each bundle tied, each cart loaded, each step homeward carries sustenance, hope, and a quiet triumph. The harvest is not only food for the body, it is sustenance for the spirit, a rhythm of life that continues despite scarcity, hardship, and the ever-turning wheel of seasons. As twilight deepens, the village breathes another kind of life. Alehouses glow with lantern light, soft and inviting. The scent of bread, roasted meats, and sweetened beer mingles with the cool evening air. Inside, the weary gather to rest, to share stories, to laugh quietly, and to remember that survival is also about community. Imagine the low murmur of conversation, the gentle clinking of wooden mugs, the soft laughter of those who have toiled all day and now find solace in warmth. A mother leans close to her child, describing the day's joys, while an old man traces the outline of his weathered hands against the table, recalling festivals long past. Even the simplest drink, ale or mead, is an act of connection. It carries grains from the harvest, water drawn from the well, and the touch of hands skilled in brewing. To sip it is to taste the earth itself, to partake in a centuries-old ritual, to feel, for a fleeting moment, the rhythm of life slower, gentler, more human. Outside, as the alehouse doors close and torches gutter low, the streets fall into a hush. Shadows stretch long across cobblestones. The only sounds are the distant lowing of cattle, the soft footfall of a watchman, and the whisper of wind threading through narrow alleys. Notice how the town breathes in the night, houses exhaling warmth, hearths keeping watch, the smell of bread lingering faintly in the dark. Even the unseen carries life. The quiet scurry of rats, the flap of a crow's wings returning to the loft, the pulse of water running through channels beneath wooden bridges. Night is not empty. It is alive in its own subtle, meditative rhythm, inviting both town and traveler into rest. And those who sleep now, the child in a straw bed, the merchant counting coins by candlelight, the farmer resting against his bundle of grain, they carry with them the memory of daylight, the taste of food, the warmth of hearths, and the quiet joy of simple abundance. Now drift into the realm of dreams. As eyes close, the world of sleep unfolds like a vast, silent tapestry. Dreams become companions, traveling through time and memory, weaving together joy and fear, hunger and satisfaction, hope and warning. A dreamer may walk through fields of wheat taller than themselves, may sit at a festival overflowing with honey cakes, pasties, and candied treats, may hear the laughter of friends long gone, or the quiet advice of ancestors. In dreams, the mundane becomes extraordinary, the distant becomes near, the impossible seems achievable. The medieval mind regarded dreams as sacred, as messages from beyond, as bridges between mortal and divine. And as you drift with them, notice how each detail, a taste, a sound, a scent, anchors the dream, carrying the sleeper gently, calmly, toward inner reflection and rest. Finally, the town, the countryside, the marketplace, and the festival all fold into the quiet embrace of night. Stars prickle softly in the sky, the moon casts silver light on roofs and fields, and every hearth flickers with gentle warmth. The people, scattered across homes and beds, carry a day of labor, of simple joys, of subtle pleasures, and now surrender to sleep. The sweetness of a pasty, the warmth of a hearth, the shimmer of a wafer, and the laughter of children all linger as soft echoes in the mind. Let the world of medieval life, with its hunger and ingenuity, its celebration and struggle, cradle you. Drift into night with the knowledge that human life has always been intertwined with small delights, shared labor, dreams, and quiet rituals. Sleep now, as they once slept, held in the gentle continuity of time, nourished by both the tangible and the imagined. Imagine a soft morning light spilling over the yard of a medieval brewery. The dew clings to wooden barrels, the air scented faintly with malt and yeast, warm and earthy. Women, their hands skilled and steady, move through the yard with quiet purpose. They lift heavy sacks of grain, measure carefully, stir slowly, and breathe in the aroma of life transforming beneath their fingertips. This is more than labor. Each gesture is a rhythm, a meditation. The grains, soaked and steeped, whisper of seasons past, of careful tending, of patience passed down through generations. The water bubbles and hisses as it meets the heated cauldron, steam curling upward like a soft hymn. It is not only a beverage being made, it is ritual, sustenance, and community intertwined. The youngest apprentice watches, eyes wide, learning not only the mechanics but the care and reverence that brewing demands. Here, in this quiet morning, there is the hum of continuity: food, drink, culture, devotion, and the sacred pulse of life itself. Step further into the brewery, where the golden liquid gathers in vast vats. It shimmers with promise, carrying the smell of barley and honey, faintly sweet, slightly bitter, alive with life. Brewing is not a solitary act. It is performed with thought, intention, and care. Women chant softly, measure, and stir, honoring both craft and spirit. In the villages and temples, this ale will serve many purposes. It nourishes the body, warms the heart, and in ceremonial contexts, it connects the human with the divine. Priests and peasants alike recognize that this liquid carries more than flavor. It carries sustenance, ritual, and meaning. Each sip becomes a bridge across time, linking labor and celebration, survival and joy, earthly need and spiritual grace. Imagine now a pilgrim arriving at the edge of town, weary from a long road. He receives a cup, warm and fragrant. He drinks slowly, savoring not only taste but history, the centuries of hands that prepared this humble yet profound gift. And in that moment, both pilgrim and brewer are connected across time, through care, through ritual, and through the simple, deep joy of shared sustenance. Drift further into the lives of the women who made this craft sacred. Their hands, roughened by work, move with grace. They know the weight of grains, the warmth of water, the slow transformation of ingredients into life-giving drink. In homes, in temples, in quiet corners of villages, they keep alive the rhythms of civilization itself. Brewing is both domestic and divine. These women are guardians of knowledge, custodians of taste, facilitators of health, and silent keepers of social order. Each batch is measured not only with skill but with memory and care. Every foam and fizz, every golden hue, reflects the patience and wisdom of generations. The rhythm of stirring and fermentation becomes a lullaby for the village, a heartbeat of the community itself. And as they work, the women tell stories, hum tunes, pass down customs, and teach the young. In this way, beer becomes more than beverage. It is history poured into a cup, culture folded into flavor, and life itself rendered tangible, sip by sip. Now follow the journey of the barley itself. Plucked from fields, sun-kissed and golden, it is carried to the brewery, washed, soaked, and roasted. Its transformation mirrors the transformation of human effort into reward. The farmer's toil, the brewer's care, the village's anticipation, all converge in this simple yet miraculous process. In every bubbling vat, there is both science and mystery. Enzymes awaken, sugars dissolve. Fermentation breathes life into inert grains. The liquid that emerges is not only nourishment, it is celebration, ritual, and social glue. Festivals, marriages, communal meals, all carry the hum of the ale, the echo of labor, the subtle taste of civilization itself distilled into a cup. Imagine a feast in the village square, ale poured into wooden mugs, bread shared between neighbors, roasted meats and honey cakes glinting in the firelight. The night air is alive with laughter, conversation, and the clinking of mugs. And yet, beneath it all, remains the quiet magic of the brewing process, a slow, deliberate transformation that mirrors life itself. Finally, drift into the soft evening, when the brewery quiets and the hearth glows with warmth. The ale rests in barrels, its aroma lingering in the cool night air. Families gather, children yawn, elders sigh, and the village exhales together. Consider the day, the labor, the laughter, the sweat, the skill. In each cup, in each loaf, in each festival delicacy, there is the subtle reminder that human effort transforms the ordinary into something extraordinary. The same hands that tilled the field, baked the bread, and stirred the brew also shaped stories, passed down wisdom, and created continuity that spans centuries. As sleep falls gently over the town, imagine yourself embraced by the rhythm of medieval life, the pulse of markets, the warmth of hearths, the sweetness of honey cakes, the comfort of pasties, and the golden promise of ale. Let the memory of human ingenuity, ritual, and simple pleasures lull your mind, gently, slowly, toward rest and dream. As the sun dips low, painting the sky in muted shades of amber and rose, the medieval market begins to quiet. Stalls once crowded with chatter now fold into shadow. The aroma of roasted meats and spiced breads lingers faintly, a ghost of the day's abundance. Yet, even as the market empties, life continues in subtle, quiet ways. A child picks up a fallen apple, rolling it between small hands, savoring the crisp sweetness. A traveler rests on the edge of a cart, breathing in the faint smoke of hearth fires and imagining the warmth awaiting him at the inn. Every sound, the clatter of a closing stall, the rustle of a stray cat, the distant toll of a bell, creates a rhythm that settles the heart. In this gentle hush, the lessons of the day echo. Work, food, care, community, all intertwined, all essential. And as night draws nearer, there is a soft promise that tomorrow will bring light, life, and again the opportunity for small, enduring joys. Step now inside a humble home, where the hearth casts a steady glow across worn wooden beams. A family gathers, the children curled near their mother's knees, the father leaning back from his day's labor. Stories emerge, carried on soft voices, weaving together memory and imagination. Tales of festival laughter, of honey cakes and pasties, of wandering pilgrims and market adventures. Each story folds warmth into the room, nurturing the mind and spirit just as food nourishes the body. The flicker of firelight dances on faces, highlighting joy, care, and patience. Each tale is both entertainment and teaching, a gentle reminder of the ways lives are connected, to family, to village, to season, to earth. In these moments, the simplest human gestures, sharing a story, offering a morsel, holding a hand, become acts of profound magic. Outside, the cobbled streets shimmer under moonlight, soft silver spilling over thatched roofs and stone doorways. Footsteps echo lightly, distant and calm. A lone figure walks home, carrying the last bundles of the day, breathing in the cool night air, feeling the weight of both labor and relief. Every shadow tells a story, every gust of wind whispers secrets of time past. The world is vast, yet intimate. The child tucked in bed, the watchman on his round, the baker polishing trays for tomorrow, all are threads in a tapestry that spans generations. This night walk is not hurried. It is a meditation. Each step, each breath, each heartbeat in rhythm with the quiet world around. The mind softens, letting go of the day's burdens, embracing the serenity of movement, the calm of reflection, the lull of life itself. Now drift into the realm where consciousness softens and dreams awaken. In every home, in every bed, a new world unfurls. A child dreams of running through wheat fields taller than themselves, tasting the sweetness of stolen honey, laughing with friends whose names they may never know. The baker dreams of ovens glowing warmly, the bread rising gently, the aroma filling the streets. The brewer dreams of golden ale, of bubbling vats and careful hands stirring, of the sacred rhythm of transformation from grain to drink. Each dream is layered with memory, desire, and quiet wonder. In medieval thought, dreams were more than imagination. They were bridges, omens, whispers from the divine. And as the village sleeps, each dreamer participates in a timeless dance of hope, insight, and renewal, cradled gently by the night. Finally, allow yourself to sink fully into the embrace of night. The village rests, the fields breathe in silence, the river hums softly over stones. Stars prickle faintly above, and the moon casts silver threads across the world. In this serenity, taste the memory of pasties, honey cakes, cheese curds, and ale. Feel the warmth of hearths, the rhythm of labor, the quiet joy of community. Let the gentle heartbeat of medieval life, with its hardships and pleasures, cradle you. Every breath, every sigh, every dream becomes a lullaby, slow and soft, carrying both listener and medieval soul into rest. Sleep now, gently, securely, as the world folds around you, holding you in timeless continuity, nourished by both the tangible and the imagined. Feel the soft, silver light of dawn spilling over the Sumerian temples, where the air carries the faint sweetness of freshly soaked grains and the earthy scent of malted barley. Women move with reverence, hands skilled and deliberate, lifting heavy sacks, stirring slowly, listening to the gentle hiss of water meeting heated cauldrons. Every movement is rhythmic, a quiet meditation that blends the sacred and the practical. This is more than preparation, it is an act of devotion. Each bubble in the vat, each rising foam, each golden shimmer of liquid is a whisper of the divine. In their careful tending, the women honor Ninkasi, the goddess of beer and the cycle of life itself. As the sun climbs higher, the brewery becomes a temple of transformation, where humble grains and water are converted into nourishment, ritual, and community. And notice how the youngest apprentices watch in silence, absorbing the rhythm, learning not just technique but the patience, care, and sacred attention that transforms labor into something transcendent. Every stir, every taste, every smell is an education in the quiet majesty of daily devotion, linking mortal work to celestial grace. Now drift to the village square where a festival hums softly under the midday sun. Banners flutter gently in the breeze, their colors muted but alive. Tables bow under honey cakes, pasties, candied fruits, and mugs of golden ale, each item a testament to toil, skill, and shared joy. Children run between stalls, laughing, chasing kites and each other, their feet stirring dust into the warm air. Music floats lightly, flutes, drums, and strings creating a rhythm that mirrors the pulse of life itself. Every face, every gesture, every laugh carries the echo of centuries, of rituals, of community strengthened by shared experience. Notice the subtle interplay. A merchant offers a sugar-dusted sweet to a child. A woman brews her ale carefully at the edge of the square. Neighbors exchange stories of crops, births, and dreams. Food, drink, and fellowship are inseparable here. They are vessels of memory, markers of identity, threads weaving a social tapestry that supports both spirit and body. As twilight falls, shadows stretch across the temple courtyard. The smell of incense mingles with the faint sweetness of leftover festival treats. The women of the brewery gather their tools, empty the last vats, and whisper thanks to Ninkasi for guidance and safety. The temple itself seems to breathe in the night, its stone walls holding centuries of ritual and devotion. Torches flicker gently, casting dancing shadows that tell stories of preparation, of offering, of connection between mortal and divine. Imagine a solitary priestess walking slowly through the courtyard, her sandals making soft impressions on dusted stone. She pauses at a small offering of ale, bread, and fruit. Her hand hovers for a moment, blessing both the food and the labor that created it. In these moments, every act, every stir, every pour, every shared morsel becomes part of a sacred cycle where life, labor, and reverence coexist seamlessly. Step quietly now into the still village at night. The streets are empty, only the soft murmur of the river in the distance. The wind moves gently through the trees and the cobbled lanes, carrying the faint aromas of bread, roast meats, and ale lingering from the festival. Every house is quiet, every hearth dim, yet alive with memory. A child sleeps clutching a piece of honey cake, a farmer rests with thoughts of the fields, a brewer dreams of the transformation of grain to golden liquid. Night becomes a space of reflection, where the pulse of daily life slows, and the soul can rest, nourished by the quiet recollection of the day's labors, the sweetness of shared moments, and the gentle rhythms that connect all beings in time. The village itself seems to exhale, a soft, collective breath that carries with it the whispers of labor, ritual, joy, and human connection, setting the stage for dreams and the next day's work. Finally, drift fully into the world of dreams. Imagine the vats of ale glowing softly, golden and alive, reflecting the flicker of candlelight and fire. The sweet aroma drifts into every corner of the village and temple, carrying with it memory, joy, and the essence of human endeavor. In dreams, the village stretches beyond time. Children play in fields of wheat taller than themselves. Women stir golden liquid with reverent care. Men recall the warmth of pasties, honey cakes, and freshly baked bread. Every detail, taste, smell, sound, and warmth blends seamlessly, creating a gentle, immersive tapestry of life, history, and imagination. Here, in this meditative space, the listener is cradled by centuries of ritual, ingenuity, and care. Sleep falls softly, carrying the warmth of hearths, the sweetness of treats, the golden promise of ale, and the timeless rhythm of human life, gentle, flowing, eternal. As the first pale light of dawn filters through small windows, the brewing room awakens slowly. Wooden barrels, darkened by years of use, hum with quiet anticipation. The air is thick with the sweet, earthy scent of malted barley, soft steam curling upward like invisible threads of ritual. Women move through the space with quiet grace. Each gesture is deliberate, stirring, measuring, pouring, tasting, adjusting. There is patience in every movement, reverence in every touch. Even the youngest apprentice feels the sacred rhythm of the room, the pulse of life that flows from grain to golden liquid. This is more than brewing. It is meditation, devotion, and care. The water hisses gently against the heated cauldrons. The foam rises in slow, deliberate crescendos, and the golden hue of the ale glows softly, reflecting the quiet light of morning. Every sip that will later touch lips in the village carries this careful, patient energy, a bridge between labor, art, and human connection. Beyond the brewery, the village slowly stirs. The smell of baking bread drifts down narrow streets, mingling with the faint aroma of fresh herbs and roasting meats. Carts creak as they are pushed into position. Chickens cluck softly in the yards. Neighbors greet each other with nods and murmurs. Children follow the older ones to school or chores, their laughter light and soft, bouncing across the cobbled stones. The sound of distant bells mingles with the hum of daily life, a gentle reminder that work and rhythm, care and community are inseparable. In this tranquil morning, every small act, lifting a basket, kneading dough, measuring grain, is part of a greater whole. The day begins not with haste, but with intention, and the subtle magic of ordinary labor becomes visible in the quiet harmony of village life. Now shift focus to the festival grounds, where long tables are being arranged, stalls raised, banners hung. The scent of honey cakes and spiced pastries drifts faintly as bakers and brewers prepare for the villagers' arrival. Hands, weathered and steady, arrange small sweets and mugs of ale with care, ensuring that each visitor will receive nourishment and joy. The youngest helpers carry bundles of herbs or flour, their steps careful, their excitement contained. Music floats faintly, flutes, tambourines, and soft drums, already teasing the air with promise. The festival is not merely entertainment, it is ritual, connection, and community. It binds the people together, reminding them that through shared food, shared work, and shared laughter, life is richer, gentler, and imbued with meaning beyond the mundane. As the festival begins, golden ale is poured carefully into wooden mugs, its head frothing softly, catching the warm sunlight. Villagers drink slowly, savoring flavor, aroma, and the labor of hands that transformed humble grains into something extraordinary. Notice the subtle joy in small gestures. A mother lifting a mug to a child's lips, a neighbor passing bread to another, a friend sharing a spiced pastry. In every sip and bite, there is memory, connection, and gratitude. Ale is more than drink. It is a vessel of culture, continuity, and human ingenuity. Even in this brief, fleeting moment, Centuries of knowledge, tradition, and care are distilled into golden liquid, a reminder that every small act of creation carries profound significance. The festival becomes both a celebration of life and a quiet meditation on the rhythms of human labor and delight. As the sun sets and shadows lengthen, the village quiets once more. The festival lights flicker gently, the music softens, and the people return home, carrying warmth and fullness in their hearts. By the hearth, families sit together, reflecting on the day's joys, the taste of pasties, honey cakes, golden ale, and the shared stories of work, play, and community. Children yawn, eyes heavy with sleep, while elders lean back, satisfied and serene. Outside, the night air is cool and fragrant. Stars twinkle faintly above, and the soft murmur of the river carries into the village. In this stillness, every heartbeat, every sigh, every remembered taste becomes a lullaby, gently cradling the mind and spirit. The village sleeps, nourished by food, ritual, labor, and love, and the rhythms of medieval life carry softly into dreams, slow, gentle, and eternal. As the first tendrils of dawn weave through the low-lying mist, the village fields come alive in the soft embrace of morning light. Dew clings to blades of wheat and barley, glinting like tiny crystals. Farmers tread carefully through the damp soil, their breath rising in delicate clouds, while animals stir quietly, sensing the rhythm of life awakening. The world feels slow, deliberate, each movement a meditation. Hands lift tools, water flows into channels, and seeds are sown with intent. Every act, no matter how small, is a part of the eternal cycle: nurture, growth, harvest, and sustenance. In this gentle rhythm, the heartbeat of the village aligns with the pulse of the earth, creating a harmony that nourishes both body and soul. Inside the low, warm kitchens, bakers begin their day with careful attention. Flour dusts the wooden tables, and dough rises slowly in the soft heat of the hearth. Each loaf, each pastry, each humble biscuit is shaped with reverence, a testament to patience and skill. The aroma of baking bread fills the room and drifts into the streets beyond, offering quiet comfort to early risers. A child pauses, inhaling the scent, imagining the warmth and taste. Here, in these small, repetitive acts, there is both labor and love. Every knead, every fold, every careful placement of dough is a silent meditation, a link between generations, a continuation of centuries of culinary wisdom. Now step softly to the river that runs at the edge of the village, its waters catching the light of morning in gentle ripples. Fishermen push small boats into the current, nets trailing lightly, while the reeds sway with an almost musical rustle. The sound of water, constant and calm, carries a quiet assurance. Life moves, sustains, and renews itself endlessly. Children play along the bank, tossing small stones, watching the circles spread. The river mirrors the steady rhythm of village life, reminding all who pass its banks that time flows gently, carrying with it work, dreams, joy, and reflection. Evening is approaching, and preparations for the festival reach their final moments. Long tables are arranged, benches placed with precision, lanterns hung carefully to cast soft light. The smell of roasting meats and spiced pastries mingles with the cooling air, while women check the golden ale, ensuring each batch has reached perfection. Music instruments rest in gentle anticipation, flutes, tambourines, drums, awaiting the touch of hands that will awaken them. Every detail, every careful arrangement, every small act of preparation is infused with reverence, patience, and quiet excitement. The festival is both celebration and meditation, a moment where human labor and artistry converge, creating an experience that nourishes heart, mind, and spirit alike. As darkness descends and the first stars appear, the village exhales a collective sigh. The festival hums gently, lantern light flickering across faces full of laughter and quiet reflection. Mugs of golden ale clink softly, the aroma of pastries drifts on the night air. Families return home, children curling into warm beds, elders leaning back with soft smiles. Outside, the night is vast, quiet, and infinitely patient. Stars sparkle faintly above, the wind rustles through trees and over cobblestones, and the soft murmur of the river carries a lullaby to all who listen. In this serene embrace, the world feels complete. Every taste, every sound, every gentle breath of wind connects the villagers to the timeless rhythms of life, work, and joy. Sleep falls slowly, deeply, softly, carrying each soul into dreams, where the warmth of hearths, sweetness of treats, and golden glow of ale merge into an eternal, gentle meditation. As dawn spreads its first golden fingers over the barley fields, every stalk shimmers softly with dew, like a sea of tiny lights dancing in the gentle breeze. Farmers move among the rows with quiet deliberation, hands brushing over the grains, feeling their weight, their texture, their promise. The air is cool, filled with the subtle perfume of earth, grass, and the faint sweetness of ripening barley. Each step, each gesture, is an act of connection, a dialogue between human hands and the soil that sustains them. Here, in these quiet moments before the bustle of day, there is rhythm, patience, and a meditative intimacy with the land. Every seed planted, every furrow turned, every breath drawn is a part of a centuries-long tradition, a gentle testimony to the enduring bond between people and earth. Inside the brewery, the day hums with life. Wooden barrels creak softly, steam rises in gentle spirals from cauldrons, and the golden liquid swirls with quiet anticipation. Women move through the space with careful precision, measuring, stirring, tasting, and adjusting. Every gesture is deliberate, every action infused with reverence. The youngest apprentices watch with wide eyes, absorbing the rhythm of the work, the quiet discipline, and the sacredness of the craft. Brewing here is more than a practical act. It is a meditation, a connection to both ancestors and the divine. Each pour, each taste, each foam-topped mug becomes a conduit of history, culture, and human ingenuity, nourishing both body and spirit. As the day unfolds, the village awakens fully. Streets are lined with carts carrying fresh bread, roasted meats, spiced pastries, and small bundles of herbs. Villagers move with calm purpose, greeting neighbors with gentle nods and quiet smiles. The festival, though hours away, already breathes through the village in subtle ways. The scent of honey and spice, the rhythmic tapping of hammers setting up stalls, the gentle murmur of rehearsed music instruments waiting to awaken. Every action, however small, is an offering of care, a thread weaving together community, ritual, and joy. It is in these moments that the village itself becomes alive, a breathing organism where each soul contributes to the larger harmony of life. When the festival begins, mugs of golden ale are raised, spilling frothy golden liquid that catches the sun's warmth. Honey cakes, pasties, and candied treats are offered from hand to hand, creating a gentle symphony of taste, smell, and delight. Notice the subtle connections. A mother feeding her child a small piece of sweet, neighbors exchanging bread, friends sharing spiced pastries while laughing softly. Every act, every bite, every sip is imbued with centuries of tradition, skill, and human care. The golden ale itself is a living testament to patience and devotion, connecting the present to countless generations who have cultivated, brewed, and celebrated in quiet, mindful ways. As the sun sinks behind distant hills and stars emerge in a soft, twinkling veil, the village settles into night. The festival hums quietly in fading lantern light. Laughter softens into murmurs. Mugs empty and faces relax. By the hearth, families gather to reflect on the day, the warmth of baked bread, the sweetness of honey cakes, the comforting richness of golden ale. Children drift into sleep with contented sighs. Elders lean back in quiet satisfaction. Outside, the wind rustles through trees, the river hums softly, and the air carries the memory of joy, labor, and connection. Sleep descends gently, wrapping the village in warmth and calm, carrying every soul into dreams filled with light, taste, sound, and the eternal rhythm of life, work, and human care. The heartbeat of medieval life, quiet and profound, lingers softly in the mind, guiding one gently into night's embrace. Before the sun has fully risen, the hearths of the village glow faintly with embers, casting gentle shadows on walls darkened by smoke and age. The smell of last night's bread, mingled with a trace of roasting herbs, lingers quietly. A mother moves softly, tending the fire, stirring a pot of gruel or honeyed porridge for her children. Each movement is deliberate, careful, almost ritualistic. Fingers trace familiar grooves in the stone hearth. The warmth of the fire radiates not only heat but a feeling of safety, of home, of life carried forward by simple acts of care. In these moments, the day has not yet begun, and yet the quiet labor, the attention to small detail, holds a profound, almost sacred significance. Outside, the fields awaken under the soft touch of dawn. Mist rises slowly, curling above furrows and soft earth, carrying with it the delicate scent of wet soil, barley, and grass. Farmers, wrapped in woolen cloaks, move carefully through the morning, boots sinking slightly in the damp ground, hands brushing against the stalks, feeling their life, their promise. The rhythm of labor is slow, meditative, a gentle conversation between human hands and the land. Seeds are pressed into furrows, water flows into small channels, and the steady cadence of work echoes softly across the fields. Here, in the quiet communion of man, woman, and earth, the day begins not with haste but with mindfulness, a slow unfolding of life's continuity. By mid-morning, the village square hums softly with preparation. Tables are set for trade, small carts are arranged in neat lines, and the subtle aroma of spiced pastries and fresh bread begins to fill the air. Children wander among the stalls, their laughter light, mingling with the gentle calls of sellers and the murmur of neighbors exchanging greetings. Everything is deliberate, measured, yet infused with a quiet joy. A loaf is placed carefully on a wooden bench, a jug of ale tipped gently to pour, a honey cake wrapped with care. Each gesture, however small, carries meaning. Here, life is both labor and celebration, and the ordinary is rendered extraordinary by attention, care, and connection. Inside the brewery, the air hums with the soft cadence of work. Steam rises in slow curls from cauldrons, wooden paddles stir golden liquid, and women move with a quiet, reverent precision. Apprentices follow each movement carefully, learning not just technique but patience, timing, and the subtle art of observing nature's rhythm. Every batch of ale is both science and meditation. The liquid glows like sunlight trapped in wood. Its aroma fills the room, comforting and grounding. Each sip that will later reach the villagers carries with it not only nourishment but centuries of knowledge, tradition, and the quiet devotion of hands that shape life slowly, deliberately, and lovingly. As evening falls, shadows stretch long across the village. Lanterns are lit, casting a warm, flickering glow. The sounds of the day soften. The clatter of carts diminishes, children's laughter fades into quiet whispers, and the river's gentle murmur becomes more pronounced in the cool air. Families gather near the hearth, sharing bread, ale, and small stories of the day. Each bite, each sip, each whispered memory becomes a thread in the fabric of life. Outside, the night air carries the sense of smoke, herbs, and ripening grain. Stars twinkle faintly above, and the village exhales a collective calm, embracing rest. Sleep arrives like a gentle tide, carrying all into dreams filled with warmth, sustenance, and the quiet continuity of medieval life. Before the first light breaks the horizon, the village rests in an almost sacred quiet. Only the faint chirping of birds and the distant rustle of trees announce the approaching day. Hearths still glow faintly in the cottages, casting a soft warmth that holds the night close. A lone villager walks along the cobblestones, careful not to disturb the stillness, feeling the cool air against skin, the soft crunch beneath boots. Each breath is deliberate, each step a part of the rhythm of life itself. There is calm here, a slow heartbeat that connects every soul to the cycles of earth, sky, and human endeavor. In this silence, the world feels infinite and intimate at once, offering a meditation in every tiny sound, every shifting shadow, every soft touch of light upon the walls and fields. In the small bakery, the first scents of the day rise in golden swirls. Flour dust hangs in the air like fine mist, and dough stretches slowly under careful hands. The baker moves deliberately, folding, pressing, kneading, each motion a quiet, almost hypnotic ritual. Loaves emerge from the oven, their crusts crackling softly, golden and fragrant. Small pastries, spiced and sweet, are laid upon wooden boards to cool. Here, in the interplay of heat, flour, and patience, life itself feels shaped and preserved. Every smell, every texture, every gentle crack of the crust is a moment of calm wonder, a reminder that creation, like sleep, arrives slowly, patiently, and with care. By the river, water flows with a quiet, unending persistence. Small boats drift lazily along its surface, their oars dipping and rising with gentle rhythm. Reeds sway as if nodding to some hidden melody, and the reflection of the sky dances softly upon the rippling currents. Villagers come to gather water, wash linen, or simply rest by the bank, breathing in the subtle perfume of the earth and the cool, wet air. The river carries memory, motion, and life, its song almost imperceptible, yet deeply grounding. Here, time seems suspended, moving in slow, deliberate pulses, inviting contemplation, rest, and gentle immersion in the world's natural harmony. As dusk descends, the festival awakens in a quiet, glowing hum. Lanterns hang from wooden poles, casting gentle light on tables brimming with baked goods, spice treats, and golden mugs of ale. Music begins, soft at first, a flute, a drum, the gentle strum of a lute, blending into laughter, murmurs, and the soft clinking of mugs. People move slowly through the space, savoring sights, sounds, and tastes. A honey cake is broken and shared, a pasty offered to a neighbor, a small sip of ale savored in the fading light. Here, community is built not in grand gestures, but in quiet attention, in shared delight, in the soft rhythm of life unfolding. Each action, each smile, each taste becomes a meditation, a lullaby to the spirit as much as the body. Night settles fully, drawing a soft curtain of darkness over the village. The festival hum softens, lanterns flicker low, and the gentle murmur of conversation dwindles. Families gather near fires, sharing warmth, stories, and simple foods. The crackle of the hearth and the faint scent of smoke blend with the night air, offering comfort and quiet reflection. Children curl into blankets, breathing steadily in the embrace of home. Elders lean back in soft satisfaction, remembering the day's moments with quiet reverence. Outside, the wind whispers through trees, and the stars twinkle faintly above, holding the village in an eternal, gentle rhythm. Sleep arrives slowly, fully, and kindly, carrying every soul into dreams scented with bread, ale, honey, and the enduring heartbeat of life itself. As the sun rises slowly above distant hills, a gentle hum pervades the village. Doors creak open, the soft shuffle of feet on cobblestones mingles with the distant crow of a rooster. Smoke curls lazily from chimneys, carrying the warm scent of hearth fires and brewing porridge. Every small sound, every subtle movement, speaks of life quietly awakening, not in haste, but in measured, deliberate rhythm. Villagers stretch their limbs, greet neighbors with soft nods, and step into the day with a calm mindfulness. In these moments, one can feel the invisible threads connecting every soul, every home, every field, the quiet pulse of community, steady, reassuring, and eternal. Inside the bakery, the day deepens in its golden light. Dough rises slowly under the tender warmth of the hearth, yeast working invisibly to transform simple ingredients into nourishment. Hands move with careful precision, rolling, folding, kneading, smoothing, each motion deliberate, patient, meditative. The aroma of fresh bread fills the room, a subtle reminder of continuity, of life repeated through centuries of quiet devotion. Small pastries glisten with honey, waiting to bring sweetness to those who wander in from the chill morning air. Every crackle of crust, every soft thump of kneaded dough is a whisper of comfort, a lullaby for the senses, a gentle encouragement to slow down and savor life's small, sustaining moments.